you are creating a well-oiled machine or one that's going to fall apart based on you not oiling it the way that you should.
That's good.
So if you use that as the concept for how can I best oil this machine as I grow, it will help you to establish the proper systems in place so that it flows the way that it's supposed to flow. Now, are you going to have regular bottlenecks and frustrations and difficulties? Of course, every business does. However, if you establish these systems and place these people in the right position to help you, you are going to have a far better and more well-oiled machine moving forward. It'll help you to grow and accomplish the ultimate task that God has for you in this role. That's stewardship.
Welcome to Courageous Stewards, the podcast where legacy meets leadership.
We believe stewardship isn't just about managing resources. It's about multiplying impact, honoring purpose, and building with eternity in mind. Each week, we dive into business-focused discussions on real estate investing on a foundation of faith and family.
We have a desire to inspire listeners with a heart to reclaim their time, talents, and treasures for something greater. Whether you're growing your portfolio, leading a business, or a family, we need to become the best version of ourselves.
This is your space to gain wisdom, walk in courage, and steward what matters most.
Let's build what lasts. Let's lead with love.
Let's become courageous stewards.
All right, welcome back, listeners. We're diving in today to an interesting topic. I like this one a lot because when it comes to investing, property management, and things like that, and being the business owner, essentially, you kind of have a desire to want to just do everything and handle everything. And it comes from a position of being like, you still feel, even if you're brand new, like you're the guy that'll do it the best.
Right.
That's not always the case, depending on what that thing is. You may care the most, but it doesn't mean you're the guy that's going to do it the best. So we're going to dive into just staying in your lane. I've been guilty of jumping out of mine many times, but we're talking repairs, fixes, maintenance, just these things that we all want to go out and do because we're going to save a little money doing it ourselves, but we just want to gauge when that seems right, when that makes the most sense. It's kind of about protecting your time, your sanity, and your portfolio. You can't get bigger if you're doing everything because you just aren't going to leave yourself the time. So when it comes to stewardship, we talk a lot about our calling. So when it comes to your lane, don't see it as, well, I'm just failing or I'm not going to dive in and take care of that. I could, but I'm not going to, as a bad thing or as you're giving up or not doing it. It's a calling. Your calling combined with your gifting and your impact, when those collide, you drift less and you have more focus and you tend to grow faster. And it's because you're stewarding the calling and the gifting that you have on what you're good at. And you're letting other people the opportunity to do what they're good at. So you're stewarding your time well, their time well, and it really helps change how efficiently you're making these decisions, these changes, and basically valuing and utilizing your own time for your gifts. I've got a small story on this one. It was right out of the rip. I had bought a duplex and it was newly renovated. So I bought it renovated, but it was vacant and I had to place it. And I just bought it and I put tenants in it. And you have small issues, but their stove wouldn't work. And I remember I'm like, I'll go check this out. It's got to be something small. I went over there, checked it out, pulled the back of the stove off, changed stove, swapped stoves, left. They texted me again, said it still wasn't working. And I went back again, looked at something, went down, looked at the breakers, tried to look at wires, couldn't figure it out, left again. I called an electrician. I said, I need some help. The guy was in there. He charged me $200, found the issue right away, changed it and fixed it in like 30 minutes. And it was like, I wish I would have just called him day one as soon as I got that text. That's staying in your lane. I shouldn't have been looking at electrical because I don't know electrical well enough to be doing it, nor am I certified. So I should have just called him. I had thought it was maybe a stove issue or something because I had swapped the appliances. But just sometimes stay in your lane, make the call. Sometimes you don't realize how much more efficient and happy you're going to be when you get it, make a decision and get it off your plate.
Now, look, the opposite argument to that is when I'm small, I don't have the income to be calling somebody every single time I have an issue. And you're right. That's a fact of the situation. However, You can plan by having a capital expense fund that you pour some of that money into every month. You're not going to become wildly wealthy on 1, 2, 3, 4 properties.
Not at all.
But you can set up systems in a way that you have some money set aside when things break. I would also say your capacity to understand and know everything is limited. And so the reason we say stay in your lane is because there are some things that you're going to be able to handle on your own far better than other things. But the investor's mentality is, I have to handle everything.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not capable of handling it, I'm going to go try to figure it out because it's going to save me $100 by not having to call somebody else who could fix it in 5 minutes. And is that true? Sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the exact opposite and ends up costing you more time, more frustration with your tenant, and you end up having to pay somebody to do it anyway. So recognize where your capacity is on handling certain situations. If you can dive into something and fix it quickly, efficiently, and move on, especially and primarily when you're little, when you have 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, then that's okay in certain situations. Go take care of it.
Sure.
However, there's going to come a time when you're going to grow beyond that, and your capacity to handle that stuff no longer is your highest and best use of time.
Yeah, that's good.
And you need to focus on getting the next property, because going and fixing something at what would equate to $10 an hour because it took you all day to fix it. You could have spent that time going and looking for another property, meeting with other potential investors, working through your finances to find the gaps where you can get more money to then go buy another property. Your time can be better spent elsewhere, and you need to turn some of those responsibilities over to somebody else who can get them done efficiently and inexpensively.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, well said for sure, because nobody's going to get your deals for you.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to have those meetings and have those conversations to help you scale. Having this time management around staying in your lane and being able to make those decisions, whether or not you go ahead and put the time in and handle it to save some money, or you make sure you source it out, is really important, because it's the secret to like scaling efficiently.
Yeah.
I can't have more properties if I'm doing everything for 5 properties. You got to find time and go, I got to go do this now.
I just thought of an interesting story that I had come up at an apartment complex that we own and manage. And we had an issue with an electrical outlet that was being used for the window air conditioner. These units don't have central air in them. They have window units. Those window units run, they have a compressor in them, I think, and they pull a lot of power on an ongoing basis, and they're constantly on and off, on and off, on and off. Well, those outlets are not built to withstand, the standard outlets, I should say, are not built to withstand that much intense pull of power on a regular basis. So we had it burn up, and we couldn't figure out why. And I'm an electrician. I'm really not an electrician at all. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I could go figure this out. I just got to change an outlet. Okay, fine. I do that. I pull it off. And same thing, we have another issue with it. And I'm like, I can figure this out. It's probably a breaker. It's, yada, yada. And so you go back and do it again. And it's similar to your story with the stove. We had been there 3, 4, 5 times ourselves fixing this issue. And I got a hold of our electrician who went in, and he just said, it's not set up the way that it should be. Give me a little bit of time and I'll get it set up the way that it should be. And he changed the outlet, changed the breaker, made the adjustments necessary. Have not had a problem since then. It cost me like $120.
Yeah.
Why didn't I do that before I went over there 5 times, in a week span? You think, well, I can fix this myself and it's going to save me the money on it. Sometimes you're right, but most of the time you're probably not.
Yep.
Just get the person over there that's qualified to do the work that you need done.
I think it's definitely an ebb and flow thing. We talk about that a lot. Sometimes there's just not a lot going on. It's kind of quiet. Maybe you've got a deal on the books that you're going to be closing on. Go put some flooring down if you can do it, if you know how to do it. Go do a project and save the money. But you just got to really, you said it earlier, like highest and best use of your time. It really is that. That needs to kind of be your mantra every time. And I remember I had a short one here at a house where it was a shower valve. And I remember I sat there, I had my tools out, and I had my Allen wrench to take that handle off. Small job, really small job. But that set screw wasn't turning. And I tried another, I was trying. I'm like, I'm going to round this off, strip it or something. And I don't know enough about it. I'm going to break something if I don't so I just decided right then and there, I packed my stuff up. I said, I'm calling a guy.
Yeah.
Because the highest and best use of my time in that moment was not going to be breaking that guy's shower handle off and springing a leak in the house and having a main water line break. It was call a professional and have them handle it the way because they've seen it. The thing to remember is the guys that you're calling have seen these things 100 times. For you, it's the first time. So you're YouTubing, you're Menardsing over and over again. And like, I'll get it. When you call that guy, he goes in there, I've seen this 1,000 times. Yeah. I'm going to clamp there. I'm going to bust his handle off. I'm going to pull the valve out and change it. It's going to be easy.
Which is exactly what happened in that scenario. And he texted you, right?
He told me, he's like, I had to break the handle off, slide the valve out, and change it. But he already knew that going in. I'd have been sitting there scratching my head trying to and then I may have pulled on it, but I don't have the tools or equipment to properly isolate that shower handle to break it off so I don't break the valve off in the wall. Yeah. So that's all. I was like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, I'm leaving.
Yeah. There's 2 points here that come up in my mind on opposite ends of the spectrum. So the value that's there in doing some of your own work is sometimes unrecognized. You don't realize it until down the road. And my example of this would be my son. He's 15 years old. He has the capacity to handle my properties mostly without me even being there at this point. He has a certain skill set that goes beyond any 15-year-old that I know of or have seen, because he's come alongside me through the process of managing these throughout the years. And I've gotten him involved in so many things that now he has those skills set in his life and he can go do them without me even having to think about it. There's a ton of value in that.
Very.
And it's cool because you can bring your family alongside you and create a rhythm where, it's just kind of what you do as a family, and they can be involved in that and learn a lot of things, so they don't get out in the real world and go, I don't know how to handle my finances because nobody's ever showed me. They have. Good. I don't know how to fix a faucet or change flooring or I don't know, whatever the thing is, because you've naturally shown them how to do this. And that, in my opinion, is a great way of stewarding in your family, because not that you have to do everything. You shouldn't. It's not the proper way to handle every situation. But there are a lot of times when you don't realize what you're doing by doing some of these things yourself. Now, with that being said, the opposite end of that is establish people around you that do the things that you're not great at.
Yeah.
Which we would call like a team or a group of vendors, that you become their priority. It's really interesting. We actually just had this conversation this morning about how you establish people in different areas and you grow your relationship with them.
Yeah.
And over time, they know, like, and trust you, and they know they're going to get paid.
Yep.
They know you're going to have consistent work for them. And so you can contact them and say, hey, I know you're busy. I appreciate you so much. I have this situation. Can you fit me in? And they're like, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
I'll go take care of it now. And you don't even have to question it.
Which is really valuable.
So you establish that relationship with that group of people that are great at these other things. And then when you need to call on them, they're there and ready and available. And you don't have to go, I got to get on Google and search through all these different people. Which one should I call? Am I going to get ripped off? Are they going to take good care of it? No. Over time, you've already established, I use these people and they're on my side and they're going to get the job done. It makes it so much easier.
I think that's really good. And be careful. Something to pay attention to is a lot of people have a guy. The guy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's great. I love having, I have a guy or two myself, but it's like, just because that guy is willing to do everything doesn't mean that guy should be doing everything.
Right.
That's something I had to learn along the way. I've got some great people around me, but there are people that are in different businesses with more efficient systems, more expertise, and more vendors. So you got to be careful. The person can do the job, but they're going to have to maybe pay up for materials. They're going to have to go. Maybe one other guy is still learning. Whereas if you call somebody that specializes in that thing, they've got vendors, so their costs are lower. They'll do it. They're more familiar with it. So just be careful. Have a guy. I think there's a lot of value in that, but make sure that you're looking at those opportunities as they come and going, should I be calling a specialist in this thing or that thing that already owns that style business, and put them on that thing? Because that, again, is their calling, their gifting, and their expertise.
I look at this like there are 3 different lanes through the growth process in the real estate space. The first one is your first couple of properties. You're in the weeds, you're doing the work. The second one is you may hire or come alongside a handyman or a couple of handymen who can kind of take some of those responsibilities off your plate, and you can send them here to do this job or there to do that job, and it frees you up a little bit. And then the third would be you have established a vendor crew that handles your plumbing, your electrical, your turnovers. Maybe your handyman is the guy that you put in that turnover space where he just begins to understand what your expectations are, and then he can just go and do the job without you having to tell him every single time.
That's good.
On our last episode, we talked about systems and establishing those, and you kind of naturally build your systems over time if you handle it in a certain way, where, that step 2, you kind of get some people that are handy in a lot of different areas. Well, they become the people that you lean on a lot more as you grow. And then you have specialty people who focus, or businesses, companies who focus primarily on the more complicated, challenging tasks, and you know exactly who to call. And so they just go and take care of it. And that's where I have kind of gotten to in my business is I have a group of guys, or businesses, I should say, around me, some individuals and some businesses. I just know that I know this is who I call for this particular situation, and they go take care of it.
That's been in my experience to this point, is that very same cycle of those 3 lanes. And it's been funny that you said that, because I'm sitting here as you're talking, I'm like, yep, no, that. And then I'm finding myself in that 3rd lane now, trying to set up and park basically some really committed people to have relationship with around some of those jobs.
Yeah, so valuable.
Which brings us into our next topic, which is like when we're talking about staying in your lane, there's things you need to probably be involved in or handle yourself.
Of course.
Where you don't want to have somebody doing it, or at least not too early, especially if you are smaller. You're going to want to be involved in tenant communications.
Definitely.
Especially early on. You're kind of setting the precedence. Your reputation is going to matter very early on with the tenants that you're placing. Basic troubleshooting, small things. What is it? What needs done? These can be like smoke detector batteries, things like that. A clogged toilet that just needs plunged. And they're like, I don't know what to do. Just use a plunger.
Yeah.
Those small jobs. Visual inspections. You should be handling maybe a walkthrough until you get somebody that understands what your expectations are.
Because you've created a system.
Yeah, have a system in place for that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about simple, low-task items that you can do. You should be handling vendor coordination. You want to have those relationships with the people, because for me, personally, it matters who I work with. It's got to be the right person, not just because they'll do the job or they'll do it the cheapest. I have things I care about in regards to core values and personality and those kind of things. And then budgeting and planning your maintenance cycles and things like that. Especially early on. You can't have somebody managing your books and go, well, we got a turn. That's $5,000. I've only had one property, and they've only been there for 2 months.
Yeah.
where are we getting $5,000? So you should be handling these yourself when it comes down to staying in your lane.
Yeah, up into a certain point, for sure. And as you progress, like anything, you need to build this business on a solid foundation. And you're not going to jump from A to W right out of the gate. There has to be some time of preparation to establish how you handle things. And if you're not in the weeds at the beginning, how are you possibly going to know how to handle this thing down the road?
Yeah,
you have to kind of create some stabilities, create the term that we use a lot is standard operating procedures. And you do that a lot of times through the process of doing it yourself.
Yeah,
the
you
first
need to be
time.
in there.
You understand, I'm great at this. This is something that I need to handle. I want to handle. I don't want to turn this over to somebody else, at least not initially. Or you realize on the opposite of that, I hate this. This is not something I want to be involved in. I've got to find somebody now
as soon as possible
that can handle that so I don't have to. And so you build on those simple understandings of where your lane is and where you should be at, where you should stay at. And ours are very different. I look at our situations. We have our own properties separate that we manage, and then we have a partnership that we manage together. Your skill set is very different than my skill set.
100%.
And that's great in our partnership because we're able to lean on each other and stuff. But in our own separate worlds, on our own portfolios, the things that you don't want to do or don't feel comfortable doing, I very much do.
Yeah.
And then the opposite of that is very true. There's a lot of technical aspects to this that I'm like, I just want to turn it over to somebody.
Yeah.
I can't handle that. I can, but I don't want to.
Right, don't want to, right.
And you
That's the
are in
difference.
the ballpark of, give me that stuff. That's what I want to handle.
Yeah.
I don't want to handle this other thing.
Yeah.
You know? And so understanding your capacity to handle certain aspects and then finding solutions for the ones that you don't want to manage, that's kind of what helps you to level up. You know, it helps you to be more successful and establish your operating procedures early on so that you can build a business on those.
Yeah, staying where your gifting is, you know, where you're good at. That's stewarding what God put in you, his design for your life. So it is so good. There are certain things when it comes down to staying in your lane that maybe we shouldn't always be trying to do ourselves. And there's reasons typically tied to safety and things like that, because if you're not certified or insured to be doing certain work and something happens, liability goes to the roof.
Yeah.
So you do have to be careful, and these are typically your skilled trades, right? Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roofing, structural repairs. Now some of these you can do. I mean, a lot of people know how to put shingles up and do a roof. I did one when I was, a teenager with my parents. And HVAC is a fun one because I always find myself thinking I could fix it. You know, the furnace is acting up. I'm like, oh, that's easy. I'll go check it out. Probably a sensor or something easy. I go in there and I try to do it and I leave and I'm like, that took care of it. It never does. It's like, then I call somebody like, they go in and do it. But HVAC is one I still struggle to stay away from and just call a guy.
You had a funny story in relation to that one, just since you and I have known each other, with your short-term rental where you had HVAC issues and you tried, I think, 3 times.
I was up in that attic probably 3 or 4 times
to
messing
resolve
with
this
stuff,
issue.
looking at it, trying to figure out
And I
what was
remember
going
the
on.
call. I remember or it may have been a text. I don't remember. But your communication with me was like, who do you use for HVAC? I can't do this anymore. I'm going to rip this thing out of the wall and throw it out in the front yard.
I was going to just, man, that was it.
I said, just call Dave. Just call him. Have him get over there. He'll take care of it. Sure enough, he was over there. Boom, boom, boom.
It was something super simple. It was so funny.
It ended up being something very simple. He solved, and there hasn't been an issue since.
No, I haven't had the Airbnb's been great since, and that was a good one. Yeah, I remember being up in that attic. That's been one of mine that I got to just be like, okay, I'm going to have somebody come in and do it. You got to watch out for things that can create liability. Those are the other ones that you might want to avoid. Mold, water intrusion, your gas lines, of course, is a good one. Handrails. I mean, some of that stuff is you can handle. Pest infestations is a good example. It's like you can go to Menards, buy some stuff and try it yourself. It might work. But again, these professionals, when it comes to an actual problem like an infestation, they know exactly what to do. And that's because they've had systems, processes, education, experience that shows them how to handle that thing. You can go buy stuff at Menards and go do it yourself and spray some things and hope it works and tell them that, yep, that should take care of it. But you're going to get that call again because they're not done or it's not taken care of. So
right. I have a perfect example of that just happened this week at one of our short-term properties in another state where they had these little bugs that looked like miniature cockroaches. They are called water bugs. Some people call them miniature cockroaches, but they're not, in my opinion. They're these water bugs, and we were having trouble getting them to stay out of the property.
Right.
And we sprayed it ourselves, inside, outside, trim, doors, windows, everything. And they just kept returning. And this is a nice property.
Yeah.
It's not a dump. It doesn't have food in it all the time.
Yeah.
There's no reason for bugs to be in there necessarily. We called a company who could come out and do professional spraying for us. Problem solved.
Yep.
It's like, why didn't we just do this from the start?
It's a great example. And I mean, we've both done some of those things before, but that's funny. They came out and did it and it was done.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
They just know what you don't know necessarily.
So just take some of this to heart, with regards to when you find yourself in those situations that you want to try to handle it. It may be okay just to have somebody come in and do it. Value your time because it's the most valuable thing you have. And then when you talk about how long something's going to take, I just want to say that hard doesn't always equal time. Something being hard doesn't mean it's going to take a lot of time. Your easy jobs can take a lot of time, right? So you're like, okay, well, I can lay laminate flooring in here. Well, that's an easier job, but it's going to take a lot of time to go in and do that job.
Right.
So not to mix those two up, but just be willing to call somebody, have the right people, and have them help with some of these things.
Yep. I think the thing that most folks need to graduate to is a mentality of ownership. They need to get to a point where they're no longer a technician working in the business and they become an owner working on the business.
Yeah, that's good.
And there's going to be a lot of blending in there where you kind of have to wear a lot of hats. That's the nature of this business. You're going to have times where you're going to have to jump in and get involved and get your hands dirty. Other times where you're going to be sitting at a desk being the accountant or dealing with the admin side of things. But ultimately, the goal to get to, you want to achieve owner status rather than technician status.
Yeah, that's great.
And so keep working 1% at a time to get better so that you're working towards that ownership responsibility rather than the technician responsibility.
Yep, that's good. So when it comes down to building a vendor or building a team, you want to feel valued by the people that are working for you, and you want them to feel valued when they are working for you. And so I think it's treating them as if you're a partnership, you're working together on this issue, on this problem. So creating that trust and building that relationship so that when you do call them that next time, they're willing to be like, I'll be there tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That comes down to paying them fast, right? Because that's what it's just so funny hearing how they can have trouble getting payments for the small jobs. They'll collect payment for the big jobs, but it's these small ones sometimes. So for me, it is paying them fast, treating them well with respect, good communication. Just talk to them, make sure they know, because a lot of times we're like, do this, and they do it. Well, it's not the way you wanted it or thought it was going to be. Did you tell them? Did you communicate that? So having good communication, giving them repeat business, making sure you kind of show them a little bit like, oh, you're kind of my guy for this. They're going to come back because they know repeat business is systematic and is good. And then making sure you just have a list of them in your software or whatever. Keep them somewhere so that you have an idea.
Yeah, I would encourage folks, you can do it many different ways, but for us, we've created an Excel spreadsheet that has separate tabs at the bottom, and basically it's plumbers, it's carpenters, it's electricians, and anybody can go into that shared document, pull up the electricians. It has a list from 1 to 10. We start here. If this electrician is too busy to handle it, we go to number 2,
good.
and then we go to number 3, and so on and so forth. And if you establish that, then anybody, when you hire an administrative assistant and you say, hey, we need a plumber over at XYZ property, would you get on there and give them a call and get them over there? And that just completely makes the process simple for this person to get on, look at who's number 1. We always contact this person first. They're available? Great. They're going to do it this time, this day. We're good to go. Create that in your business as much as possible. Establish those systems so that you can stay in your lane and they can stay in theirs.
Yep.
But on the opposite of the concept of running your business like a business with your tenants, which we've talked about in previous episodes, you don't want to be friends necessarily with your tenant. You can be friendly, kind, respectful, but there needs to be a business-tenant relationship there. On the flip side of that, when you're dealing with your contractors or your vendors or your crew, you want to be their best buddy. You want to pay on time. You want to communicate well. You want to text them back immediately or answer the phone when they call, because you want to be their top priority when the time comes that you need them. And not just for that reason. Right. Obviously, you want to establish relationship and create rapport with your community, the people in it, get your name out there as well as theirs, and help market their business for them as well. But
absolutely.
At the same time, it's so vitally important that when they see your name come up on their phone, they're like, hey, it's my buddy. Let me see what he wants. Rather than, oh, good Lord, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
He still owes me for the past 3 jobs, and he's been a jerk every time I work for him. Like, why is he going to pick up that phone?
Do not be that guy.
No, it's so good.
Yeah, it is so true. So establish a rapport with the people that you work closely with your vendors. Call them team members. And treat them as such.
That. I love reframing what we consider people when we're dealing with those types of situations. Like, okay, you're a team member. You're not an employee or a contractor. You're a team member, and you're a guest in our property. I think that is just a good practice to have. So when you're looking at systems that are going to help keep you in your lane, maintenance request workflow, it's just let them put that in, and then you have a process in place that's going to dictate if you're going to handle that. Maybe make a list of things you do and maybe things you don't do.
Yeah.
And then just have that spelled out. That's going to help you stay in your lane. We talked on the last episode about processes, systems, what we call SOPs, which is standard operating procedures. You're going to want to have some of those in place. Having a turnover checklist, again, that's going to show you what needs done, when it needs done, and maybe who's going to do it. Is that you or is that somebody that you typically call? Annual maintenance calendar is really good because you can go in and do walkthroughs, make some assessments. Having regular maintenance around things like furnace filters, batteries, just doing them regularly. It's going to create efficiencies because it's just going to happen because there's a process in place. Having that preferred vendor list you were just talking about a minute ago, it's great, and I love that you put them in order. There's probably a reason that they're in a certain order, and that is going to help a lot of times with us staying in our lane. Budget for CapEx. Make sure you've got money put back. A lot of people do it differently. Some people do it a certain amount per door, or they just keep a certain balance in place all the time and then replenish it. But making sure you have that in so that it doesn't mess things up when you do have a call and you do have to have somebody fix something. And then having good software, having some good softwares in place can help guide you in your decision-making processes and help you make sure that you're staying in your lane and not making that emotional decision on whether or not I'm going to do it this time but not next time.
That's a really big one that we've put in place we've talked in previous episodes that we use an online platform called Rent Ready. Within that platform, tenants can make maintenance requests, and I always redirect tenants. If they contact me about a problem that they're having, I say, we track it through the app. Go ahead and put a maintenance request in. We will get to it ASAP and get it taken care of for you, but we need to have that in there so that it's recorded and trackable.
Yep.
Every single time they say, oh yeah, okay, I understand that. It needs to be tracked. So they go in and do it. From there, then there is a process on there where we can set up preferred vendors that you can pay a little bit of a fee every month, and Rent Ready will just contact the preferred vendor that you have and push that maintenance order directly to them if you choose to. Now, you don't have to do that, which we don't always. We can grab that ourselves and contact the vendor ourselves and say, hey, we need this to be taken care of. Or we can say, I can take care of this in 2 minutes. I'll go take care of it. No big deal. So it gives you some options to choose from. But again, it's just the system that's set up creates a process of how to handle it, and it simplifies things a lot as you grow and establish yourself in this industry. So I would definitely consider setting things up in a similar manner, whether you use Rent Ready or anything else. You can be done manually, just set up systems so that you use the vendors that are appropriate for the things that you need done that you can't handle. So you can step back and run the business.
Yeah.
That's your highest and best use.
Yep. Yeah, you had just said it a minute ago. Transitioning from that technician to the owner, which is just great. It's stewardship. It's just stewardship in the business, in our lives, and who we are and who everybody is that we're around. Stewardship is putting the right people in the right places. Mm-hmm. And that's not us. That's not my opinion. That's biblical. If you are skilled and comfortable and almost enjoy doing this thing and you're crushing it in that area, I'm going to steward you and your skills better by just making sure that you're the person that does that thing, not me.
Right.
Instead of trying to utilize my weaknesses for your strengths. It's God's design for our lives. So
I like to think of this like a vehicle. A vehicle requires oil, and it moves throughout the vehicle. You want a well-oiled machine. If you don't have that, it's going to fall apart, right? Same thing with like grease zerts on like a lot of tractors or different mechanical items. You need to go around and grease those so the bearings don't fall apart, so that the wheels turn properly, so that the gears work, so that it does the task efficiently that you need it to do. The same is true about this business. You are creating a well-oiled machine or one that's going to fall apart based on you not oiling it the way that you should.
That's good.
So if you use that as the concept for how can I best oil this machine as I grow, it will help you to establish the proper systems in place so that it flows the way that it's supposed to flow. Now, are you going to have regular bottlenecks and frustrations and difficulties? Of course, every business does. However, if you establish these systems and place these people in the right position to help you, you are going to have a far better and more well-oiled machine moving forward. It'll help you to grow and accomplish the ultimate task that God has for you in this role. That's stewardship.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up then. I'm going to say that this is probably the most valuable episode as far as practical, tactical knowledge that we've given to date, as far as how to manage your business. Stay in your lane, understand the gifts that God has given you, help to establish a system that is well-oiled, that you can grow to what potential you have. And the best way to do that in a lot of ways is to create a system and a foundation, put the right people in place to do the things that you're not great at so that you can step back and be an owner rather than a technician. I hope this has helped you guys. We look forward every week to giving you guys additional tactical and practical information, as well as encouragement. We want to see you learn and grow. Hopefully we have given you something to take out of this. We love you guys. Go find us on all of our platforms. We love to interact with you. Chat with us about some of the systems that you're putting in place in your own business. Maybe there's something there that we can take from what you're doing. We'd love to hear from you. So do that, and we will talk to you guys again next week. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining us today on Courageous Stewards, where legacy meets leadership and faith fuels the journey.
If this episode stirred something in you, share it with someone who's ready to step boldly into their calling. Subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected as we continue to explore what it means to lead with conviction, serve with excellence, and build with eternity in mind.
So until next time, keep showing up, keep stewarding well, and remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's obedience in motion.